which can certainly do quite a bit on infantry and generally suppress it. And now coming under fire as a Stuart flanks in with Piat Sapper support. Very nice pack nearby for support as well. Grenadiers and Pioneers providing some support on the eastern flank of the pack. Stuk 4 though looking a bit exposed, as in fact now Piats are getting ready to blast through the frontal armor. Bouncing off though. Not the best of luck, but Stuart is swift to actually flank, but it comes straight under the fire of the Pack 38. Very nice job in keeping that Pack 38 in the rear to support and provide protection against flanking. And looks like this Stuart will be out of commission. Stuk taking quite a bit of damage, but so are the Sappers, and they are in fact forced to retreat. Sappers moving towards the west, but they are not looking good either, having encountered several British infantry, and looks like they will be killed. But German forces have stabilized the situation in the east and are beginning to secure territory. And what is this? Medic bunker up from the subordinate commander of the Kampfgruppe. Not bad. And we are seeing continued Nebelwerfer rockets. A over-repaired Vickers machine gun emplacement certainly will help, but at the same time those sappers are awfully exposed with all of those Nebelwerfer rockets. And another casualty clearing station. The Major is absolutely confident in the fact that he wants casualty clearing station. Now Nsxmugen is following his lead and also getting one. Certainly not a bad job, in fact. We are seeing further Nebelwerfers, in fact, starting to put together a small battery of the rocket artillery. Is certainly going to be helpful, certainly going to be blasting those British out of their positions, but at the same time lacking any infantry to lead the charge. And that Stuk 4 is certainly looking a bit dire as well, but moving in, and there we go, clearing out as machine gun emplacement. Hooray for that. And British continuing a fresh assault in the east. Nothing to actually resist, only a sniper and a pack, and that's not going to hold for very long. Nothing else from Jabarel, who barely has anything left. In fact, only one pioneer team, that's Stuk 4 and Nebelwerfers. But nothing to actually deal with that Stuk 4, except for that 17-pounder, which is under construction. And we have a Staghound armored car. Stuk also a bit under fire from a mortar though, so what might actually end up taking it out? Perhaps the Staghound, perhaps the mortar, or will it be the 17-pounder? Only time will tell. 17-pounder slowly being turned, setting up in fact. And there we go, the Stuk 4 is but a memory. Further packs being rushed to the front. In fact, looks like he has 3 really guarding against any sort of armored assaults. Nebelwerfer's doing quite a lot of damage to the Major's forces, and in fact compelling him to pull back his lines, as this one can be a nice position once rendered so hard to defend due to all of that Nebelwerfer artillery. He is doing well in actually pulling back his defense, but at the same time all of this clumping up is of course also making a very nice target for all those Nebelwerfers. In fact, he's getting another Nebelwerfer, a 4th one, continuing their project of blasting away. In fact, taking out a Sapper team in the process, but at the same time they are not able to actually apply any direct pressure to the British infantry. Again, a bit of a shame, and certainly I think will bite them in the arse in the long run. And one straight right here, killing out some British infantry, leaving behind very little, and they are certainly also quite exposed by all of this artillery. Apparently the Major didn't pull back his headquarters command track awfully far. Medics though continuing to pull back wounded, while the rest are getting scorched alive. This one will have to get out of the fire unless his corpse has been forgotten. Germans setting up for something, and we are seeing Jabarel going straight for the Panzer Command now. A bit curious, and in fact let's go have a look at the chaps first. The subordinate who has gone for terror to lead the Reich with lots of burning stuff and artillery, blasting away, and lots of anti-tank guns, snipers, a bit of mortar and machine guns, and a single infantry team, but that is it. Another casualty clearing station being cleared out. Staghound continuing a bit of work right here in the southern areas, but they are encountering quite a bit of resistance from snipers and mortars and a pack as well. Looks like they will be retreating. Grenadiers moving in now with a Panzerschreck. British seem to be slowly digging more and more in, but looks like Nsxmugen has gone for the armored command truck, getting himself something that can actually deal a bit more heavy blows to any sort of German armor that might appear, Stooks or whatnot, or perhaps some Panthers or Panzer forces that might be coming out of this Panzer command, which would indicate the Kampfgruppe has received armored support. Brent section apparently storming these snipers, in fact getting 3 snipers now. That's a lot of manpower and still not much infantry. Single grenadier team coming under quite a bit of fire from this staghound, trying to hold it back with their Panzerschreck, but it's not looking good. Taking quite a bit of fire, and the staghound is just blasting away from a nice safe distance. And further artillery just hammering this position over and over again. Rather large Nebelwerfer battery really providing the heavy fire, and we are seeing something coming out here. And what is this? Another Panzer command, so we'll probably be seeing a lot more armor now. And we are 3 Knights Crossholders. Well, I suppose that's infantry, and certainly could be doing a quite nice job, but at the same time some Panzers would also have been nice to actually support them. And certainly a Kampfgruppe center to get those Knights Crossholders some veterancy would also be really nice, as that could really help them in particular, since there's going to be a lot of British infantry and other nasty bits. But Nebelwerfer's continuing to rain death from above. Now apparently trying to hit something here. Apparently perhaps that's Firefly, which has apparently command of fire from packs. Staghound moving in, but is getting unawares of the peril it is placing itself in, as it is stirring up a hornet's nest of packs. In fact, it's straight between 2, and in fact goes out of control, forcing away a mortar team before it blows up. And the snipers continue like a pack of malicious hunters, skulking through the brush. In fact, looks like this lieutenant will be their prey, and apparently only 1 hit. So quite the lucky lieutenant. Very lucky lieutenant. In fact, he managed to call in some artillery, which could certainly indicate that Mr. Nsxmugen has gone for artillery. So not bad, and there we go. Knights Crossholders first team is finally ready. We shall have to see what the other chap will be coming out with to surprise the British forces of the Irish Guards, who certainly have gotten some armor out now. But their positions are taking quite an awful lot of artillery fire, and they don't really seem to have anything to actually answer these barrages. No howitzers, no priests or anything. We shall have to see how this goes, but at the same time very nice position from the Wehrmacht commanders, ensuring that they are protected from any armored rushes, but at the same time also interesting to see that fact most of the fighting has moved towards the eastern point, as they have sort of realized, yes, this being the hotspot will also being the most hard area to crack, so instead they're focusing all efforts in the east, which is to the benefit of both sides, but I do think the British are taking the most advantage of it half the time. Snipers though coming under heavy fire, probably stopping this Bofors 40mm from being built, and there we go, retreating. Reconnaissance section moving in, snipers getting out and not getting counter-sniped, so their lucky day. And further Knights Crossholders arriving with their Knights Crosses, not exactly the most realistic unit, since they didn't really use units like that. There were things like where they composed teams of NCOs under training from NCO schools and composed them into some rather nasty assault teams, but that's really the best I can actually suggest in such cases. So that could perhaps have been used, but there you go. That's not well on such matters, but those Knights Crossholders are certainly nasty buggers. Grenade going off amongst the reconnaissance section, forcing them to retreat. Firefly blasting away a bit, but not having much luck. And what do we see here? A kangaroo? That's quite the rarity after the patch, which rather nerfed them, which of course was deserved, but it has of course stopped a lot of people from using them, because, well, previously they were just used as a sort of battering ram, which could really resist a lot of firepower. Now they do require a bit more thinking, since they have been made more expensive, a bit weaker and a bit slower, but that doesn't, I don't think, render them unusable, but it does require a bit more thought to actually use them now. So we'll of course have to see what shall be done. Lieutenant jumping in for a bit of fun, and sappers with Piats as well. And Nebelwerfers continuing to hammer away. right here. Absolutely missing the Firefly though in the process. And Knights Crossholders lining up for a small, very vicious assault force. And what do we see? Panthers having arrived. A bit predictable, I suppose, but we'll certainly be able to deal with those Panthers. But again, getting some veterancy, and in fact there's a lot of manpower and fuel which could be used for veterancy or even some armor. Good heavens, and there we go. The subordinate commander is getting some veterancy up, and another sniper again, barely any infantry. Not entirely sure this is going to be the best job. Infantry charges right in right here. Barely anything to resist them, and looks like these Nebelwerfers are in a bit of trouble. Mortars now joining in as well. And looks like this one Nebelwerfer will be cleared out. Oh dear. But Knights Crossholders charging through here, ending straight in the path of the Kangaroo and a Staghound. Looks like these Knights Crossholders will have to retreat. And there we go, retreating under heavy fire. And what is this? A firestorm apparently being called in. Not really going to do much against these vehicles, but there you go. British assault forced back, but apparently this Nebelwerfer survived, just barely though. And we are seeing a large German force assembling right here. Still nothing here, and oh my goodness, Jabarel is floating a ridiculous amount of manpower and fuel. He really should be doing something with this armor, or please get some veterancy. It can really do quite a lot with your infantry, and in fact those Knights Crossholders can become even more tough and bastardly by getting some veterancy. Or you could, for example, get some veterancy for those Nebelwerfers, which would certainly be able to, in fact, make them fire even faster and, in fact, do more damage. And what is this? The V1 rocket being summoned in, which can only mean one thing. Yes, in fact, they have gone both terror, in fact, just as I noticed this. Blasting out this position, blowing away the defenses, in fact, leaving the Major's command truck in a state of terrible disrepair and will fire as well. And looks like we are seeing a massive British assault moving in. Kangaroos, Fireflies, Zappas and whatnot, taking on all of these packs and the Panther as well. Quite the large fight. Looks like this one pack will be cleared out. Yes, no. Not entirely sure. There we go. Pack cleared out. This Kangaroo taking quite a bit of fire. Apparently stopping up right in front of the pack. Not a good idea. But the troops inside carry on. The Firefly providing fire support. Snipers though taking up a Overwatch position, blasting away. But the Staghound is not to be stopped. And we do see finally some veterans for some units support apparently, which is certainly going to help keep those troops healed. Still not a lot for the Wehrmacht commands, but he's finally getting some Panthers, but still no veterancy at all. And this Staghound is not looking too happy, having lost the fight against the mighty Panther. Baker's machine gun being laid down here. I don't think that's the best idea generally, and we are seeing several snipers swarming around like sharks against prey caught out in the open seas. They're certainly getting the devil out of there. Another Firefly nearby. Oh, wait, it's still the same but heavily damaged. And now we are seeing a Panther moving in, hunting down the rather unfortunate Firefly. But the Panther misses. And we are seeing a self-propelled artillery piece on the ground, opening fire.